Mr. Stout, we had a little bit of tape problems. We're continuing where you're telling something that happened to you and Rachel Mine perhaps in 1967, around then, sometime before you retired, and about a year before you retired. And you were telling about this explosive force that hit you when you were alone, and that in this confusion and blinding wind and dust, you started back along the rib or side of the mine, back towards the pumper, because that was a sound you could identify the location of. So you keep telling how you went back.
Well, after the explosion, it knocked me down, and I went to the dinner hole. I started to the dinner hole, and I went down there, and I couldn't find no respirator. I knew the explosion was someplace, but I didn't know exactly where it was at. Until I got down to that old pump I had running, the pump that I started up when I went in there. And when I went down there, I called the dispatcher and told him there's an explosion someplace, and he told me to wait there, and he'd send the pit boss back there. Well, I waited there, I expect maybe 10 or 15 minutes. There was only 8 blocks of coal from where I was at down to the section.
That was working.
Yeah. And so I waited there, and Johnny Stemple first come up out of there, and his shirt collar was on fire, and he was burnt. And I put his shirt collar out, and I asked him what happened down there, and he said that all the men were burnt up. And I said, can we get down there and see if we can't help them out? And he said, no. He said, it's in the use to go. And I called the dispatcher and told him that Johnny was there, and he said the men was all killed down there, burnt up or something, and I'd like to fetch him outside. He said, no, wait, I'm sending the pit boss in there. Well, I waited until Sprague's come up out. That was a section boss, and he was burnt pretty bad. And Sprague said, us get out of here. And I got my Jeep. I called the dispatcher back again, and I told him to clear the right-of-way because I was going to fetch these men out. And he said, just wait for the pit boss. I said, no, I ain't waiting for no pit boss because I'm going to come out. I said, you just well stop the motors or clear the right-of-way because I'm coming out. So I got my Jeep and got them 2 men in it, and I couldn't keep Sprague from standing up in the Jeep, and I had to
because he was so badly burned and in pain.
Pushing him down to keep his head from getting in the roof. And I got him to bottom, got him outside, but I lost part of that there. When I got down to the mouth of this one west, I found the pit boss sitting down there on a Jeep. He hadn't even started down in that section.
You think he had been told by the dispatcher, but he hadn't even started?
He had never started down in there. It seemed to me like he was afraid to come down.
All right, let me see if I understand you right. We don't want to really get on this Rachel story, but it helps illustrate the question I asked you, which is, why would you be so concerned if there'd been a short circuit in ventilation, a loss of air to men? Because you had lived through an explosion, and you knew how terrible, that's what you're telling me it was, to leave men in there, okay? And that's why here at this one, where we are now at Maud's Run, if I were to say, what would you do now that your son-in-law comes back and tells you the explosion doors are out, black smoke is pouring out, what's in your mind to do now? What, you want to notify somebody, or what do you want to do?
I want to notify the company that
all right, so what do you tell? You tell your son-in-law what to do? What do you say to him?
Well, I told him to call over and tell him the fan was down because I figured there's a lot of men in there working, and I wanted to get them out.
Okay. Now, Mr. Stoll, what did you do? You didn't memorize that number. You didn't have it in your mind. Okay, tell us what you did.
We looked it up in the book, and I kept trying to call.
Like the Consolidation Coal?
Yeah.
And then the name of?
It says Llewellyn Chat.
Llewellyn Chat. You called that number.
Right.
Did the number ring?
Yeah.
It's considering that you're going to tell me other things you did from what you say happened that morning before light even. This is still sometime before light, and you start calling this number.
Right.
Did the phone go dead, or did it ring?
It kept ringing.
It kept ringing, but you didn't get anyone to answer.
Right.
You think you dialed the right number, but then you'd wait a few minutes? How would you do it?
I'd wait a few minutes and I'd
How long would you let each one ring, maybe?
I'd say 10 times.
Okay, then you'd wait a few minutes, and you all would, what, speculate, maybe chat about it, and then when you'd think of it, you'd call
Keep
it.
trying again.
How many different times, if you had a guess now, would you call the
Oh, I'd say
different,
6.
maybe 5 minutes,
5.
10 minutes between each,
Yeah.
between each call?
Right.
You never got them to answer it,
No.
yeah. What happened then? Did you, Mr. Stout, ever go down to the Mods Run fan? Is it still dark?
Yeah, still dark, yeah.
Did you not testify at the official hearings that your phone rang, somebody called you in here? Who was that? Who else lives in this
That's
hall?
my daughter called me up on the hill up there.
What was troubling her? What
Smoke.
What did she say when she got on the phone?
Well, she asked us if there was any fire down here. What the smoke
She
was.
thought it was maybe your house
Yeah,
on
yeah,
fire or something?
yeah.
On fire down here. Okay, can you guess at when that was?
Well, I don't know exactly.
Still well in the dark,
It's
right?
still dark, but
Okay.
it wasn't daylight.
Okay, do both of you go down to the fan at any point together, or
No.
Okay, do you go down yourself in the dark?
After he went down. Yeah.
Right, but do you leave him here? Do you like start getting ready?
Yeah.
If you start shaving or it's in the dark?
Ready to go to work.
Okay, but it's earlier than usual.
Yeah.
It's maybe at this, if you had a, wait a minute. I want you to tell me what you said earlier. I'm trying to remember now. There's a clock in here, right? At some time after some of these phone calls, you said it was sort of confusing when it occurred. You looked at the clock finally, right? What time was it? If you recall?
I recall it was about 10 after 5.
All right, and this is after you've been down to
And shit.
the shaft. Okay. Do you didn't notice the condition of the transformer? You wouldn't know if the transformer was a fire or anything. No, it's okay. No, we have no knowledge of that. Okay. And that's your only knowledge of looking at the clock, 10 after 5. But you don't know whether this was after you'd called well in a while or when.
I don't
know. Anything else that happens? You leave about then, maybe while he isn't able to get through. Do you go down to the?
I went down to the shaft, but it was coming daylight then when I went down there.
Okay. It's daylight by then, so this is a later point. It's going to be after. It's going to be 6 o'clock or so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there anything else during the night that
Yeah.
your daughters called you?
Yeah.
Did you call anywhere else when you couldn't reach Llewellyn?
Call Rachel.
Who did you
What?
call at Rachel?
Gribby.
Gribby. What was his first name?
Okay.
Remember what he was called besides
We always
Gribby?
just called him Gribby, that's all.
Okay. What was his job?
He was an office clerk.
It like begins with a G. Gribby.
Yeah.
He's an office clerk. Did he answer the phone?
Yeah.
And what did you ask him?
I asked him if he noticed any explosion in number 9 mine. And he said no.
Okay. By then you think it's still before daylight before you start walking? You do this before you go down there? Or
No, I called him before I went down there.
Okay. It might still be dark when you
Yeah.
call him. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the mine mechanic that morning?
I seen a mechanic that morning when I went down there just to come in daylight. But he was over there at the transformer.
Now, I want you to do this. Let me back up and get straight who he is, okay? First of all, is he a man that you think is a mechanic from number 9?
Yeah.
And he handles the Mods Run fan occasionally? You've seen him there?
Well, he looked like the same man was down there when we took the snake out of the fan.
All right, that's what I want to get straight. And what do you call him? And what is your name?
Well, he said he was Kovac. His name
Kovac is what you call him.
Kovac.
If I were to tell you he says his name is Alex Kovar, it's just the way you pronounce it.
Yeah.
That would be the same man you believe is
Yeah.
called a mechanic or electrician.
Yeah.
And you had seen him before that morning.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me about when, how much, that year, 2 years earlier, a year earlier? What was the snake story you started to tell?
Well, I was working down there in the garden, and
Was it daylight or
no, it was day one evening about.
one evening you worked?
Yeah, I'll say it was around 6 o'clock.
In the summer?
Yeah, on the
All right,
summer.
summer. Okay.
All right. This fan made this awful big racket. It seemed like the whole thing tore up in there.
This is the Mods Run ventilating fan,
Yeah.
and it's not. We're not talking about the explosion day. It's
No.
maybe a year or two early.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Okay.
So I went down. The fan went down. The fan went down.
It quit.
It quit running.
Yeah. You went down to look
Yeah.
at it.
And I don't remember whether I called them and told them the fan was down or not now. I might have called them.
Maybe
but I
the
don't know.
Simons did. You don't know who did. Okay.
But I don't know whether I called him or not. Anyhow, I went down and he come. Me and him looked every place in that thing.
Where were you, in the fan first or at the
We
transformer?
was in transformers, we looked at transformers, we looked in the fan,
What were you looking for?
we were looking for trouble.
Okay.
All right? When it, we was there probably half
Who was
an hour.
with you? Anyone with
Wasn't
you?
nobody with me. My son-in-law, he come down the road. That was his brother. And he come over to the
His
fan.
son-in-law, or is he married to a sister too? What's his name?
Richard.
Richard Stowe. Is a younger brother of yours?
Yeah.
Okay. They also married a daughter.
Yeah.
Okay.
He come over and so the big automatic breakers in there. It's a big box.
In the
We
transformer.
was looking in there, and we seen this big black snake laying in there.
What size?
Well, he was about a 6 footer.
Okay.
All right. This mechanic was afraid of that snake, you see.
Yeah.
And Dick, we always called him Dick. Richard is his name. He said, "Give me a pair of gloves." He said, "You got the power off, ain't you?" And he said, "Yeah, we'll go and we knocked all the power off of the transformer." He gave him a big pair of them gloves about that long. He reached in there and got that snake and fetched it out, and the mechanic run out of the building when he fetched the snake out. So we fetched the snake out and said he's killed him.
Okay.
When it run across the transformers, it knocked every one of them out, you see. It just burnt little holes in his back, all through it.
It burnt. In other words, a snake can live through 2,000
Yeah,
volts of power, but he gets a little burned.
Yeah, he got burnt. He got little holes burnt all in him. But he was laying right across them transformers.
But he's alive.
Oh yeah, he was alive when we fetched him. When Dick fetched him out of there. We was called him Dick. We fetched him out of there and killed him. I'll say he was 6 feet long.
Yeah. Mr. Kovar, I think, would agree with you that he doesn't like snakes. In fact, he told me if he thought there was snakes in a transformer box, he put on big rubber gloves. But I don't know. He said
He never took it out of there. He was afraid of that snake.
Okay.
Dick took it out of there.
Okay. All right. All right. And Dick killed it.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at that point, then, there's no power on.
No.
That's lost the power. Huh?
That power, that fan was down.
Is he alone, that mechanic, or does someone else arrive on the scene there?
Nobody else come.
At that point, you head on back to your garden, okay? Now, that means that fan, that's one more instance in which a fan's totally knocked out, there's no ventilation in number 9, but you don't know whether the men were treated out of the mine or anything.
I don't think there was, because the fan was down 2 hours, and they kept calling, before we got the power on. I don't think they even pulled them out that night. Now, I don't know for sure.
But you can't answer. The point is, it was trouble.
Yeah.
Has that Mods Run fan caused other trouble, in your opinion?
He
Or
was
is that the only other trouble it ever had in its history?
Oh no, it was trouble from the time they put it in there to put that box on.
All right,
It had a
now,
vibration to it.
now let me see. Before they put the box on it, first of all, you could hear it as far up as here?
Yeah,
Real
but
loud.
Oh, it's
Tell us,
good.
Mr. Stone.
it was open the same as this shaft down here at Rachel is. And it blowed straight this way, and there wasn't no hump above it here.
Okay.
And you could hear it real plain up here.
Well, you couldn't talk. You couldn't talk on
All
the
right.
porch and hear each other.
All right. Right now, in other words, it was so bad that you couldn't carry on a normal conversation
Oh.
out on the porch of this house.
Oh.
And yet you're 400 yards away from it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's how loud it was. Now, what else was wrong with it? Did it vibrate, or did you
It
say
had
it
a
did other things?
vibration. It had a vibration to it.
Did that ever hurt it, that vibration?
Well, yes, it hurt. It caused the blades to come off of it.
Well, when a blade comes off, does the fan go down?
No.
What happens? It loses some of its ventilating
Oh,
power?
yeah.
Would they fly off?
Well,
Would they break
I
through the
did.
housing or anything? Or?
Well, I don't know whether they did or not, but anyhow, they lost some blades on
Okay.
Did this happen on more than one occasion?
Well, I don't think they fixed it. They fixed the vibration in it.
Have you talked with the mechanics ever that were working on that
Oh,
fan?
yeah.
Now, was the fan down when they were working on it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but you don't know whether underground they had arranged for a different
No,
Bradison and, you know,
No, I don't
arrangement
know
of air while it was
about
down.
that.
Okay.
I don't know about that. Okay.
All right, now we're back to, you know, the night of the thing. What else happens in here? Like, do you have any other contact? Did Kovar ever go near the fan itself, the mechanic? That morning, you went up to the transformer when you saw him?
Well, you see,
November 20.
I was down there. I wasn't down there over 5 minutes because I knew it was going to blow up again.
Mm-hmm.
And I told them guys,
Who'd you tell him?
well, Jim Simon,
Jim Simon, who lives in the house closest to
yeah,
it.
he was
Okay.
standing on the bank down below.
Would you
the
also,
house.
let's identify him. What's his job? Where does he work?
He works at Rachel.
Is he a section foreman? or
No, he's a mechanic boss.
mechanic boss at Rachel? And he and his wife live in a house that belongs to Consolidation Coal, the owner of number 9. This is their land above here. Except that you own this land here, right?
Yeah.
And that house belongs to them, and what do you understand is the rent on that house?
$10 a month.
Okay. And then generally the mechanic is the right to sort of use their phone to call you,
Yeah,
because that's
absolutely.
the closest house
Yeah.
is call the mine from there.
Yeah.
Jim Simon's standing there. His wife's not there, but he's there.
No, I didn't see his wife.
Kovar's there. Who else is there?
What?
Several other men, or?
No.
But by then it's more daylight. It's pure
This
daylight.
guy, I tell you, come from Rachel up there.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about him again. Who he was.
Bob Huckenberry.
Okay.
I think it was Bob. Now, I'm most sure it was Bob Huckenberry. He come up there.
But by now it could have been 7:30. It's going on. It's past daylight a good bit.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Because when he was standing on the bank down there, and when the smoke died down, I said, it's taking in air now. It's going to blow again. You better get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I walked up here,
To your house.
and
400
walked
yards.
over there on the bank. My
Yeah.
wife was looking out the window.
You're near your house now, looking back down at it.
Yeah, went right over there on the bank. Because I was going
You're pointing to your house, right? If you're on the bank, that's your house. Mhm.
My wife was looking out the window. Well, when it blowed up that time, that was the big one.
That's, if I were to tell you it was 10 till 8, would that be about right?
Well, it
That
was
was a
something-
big
it was
explosion, say
something-
around that time,
Yeah,
a good
some-
bit after daylight. Okay.
So-
Did you see that
well,
one? Just all.
I think it was. I think
Did
it
you
was.
get out of here and go to work?
Oh, he
There
was
was
gone.
something else I wanted to add.
I wish you would, Mr. Stahl, about anything. that
All
you
right.
looked at.
Whenever I was going to work, I must be going to work about 20 minutes till 7.
You left for work at 20 to
Yeah.
7? All right. Good.
All right, I went down on top of the bank, and I seen a truck, a pickup truck, come up the road. And he pulled into the shaft.
That's the same guy.
Yeah, okay.
Who I seen was Buck Fluharty, the guy that works
Yeah.
over number 9.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, tell us that.
All right, he didn't stop down at the lower shaft,
He did not?
no,
Okay.
to see if there was anybody at the bottom of that shaft. He come on up here and pulled in
Now,
here.
that's an intake shaft, and it could have been some men had gotten
Right.
there and wanted out alive or something. That's what
Even
you're
got a
saying.
bucket there.
But that, in other words, you later learned that at Mahon's shaft, that kind of shaft saved 8 men.
Right,
Because the people went to the top of the shaft, shouted down, anybody there?
yeah.
And the men answered back they were, and then they pounded it with wrenches.
But he never stopped there. He come on up and just pulled in down here and backed out and went back down the road.
Mhm.
And was clear back down the road because I went and followed him down the road.
All right. Then, what color pickup was he driving?
I think it was a green
Okay.
Dodge.
And you know him when you see him?
Yeah.
Is Fluharty not a supervisor at number 9 in some capacity above
He
the
was-
mechanics?
He was the guy that was dropping the cars in over number 9. The reason I know him because I hauled coal for Hawkins out of there, and he's the one that filled out the order and stuff to get it over there. And that's the reason I know it.
Okay. Okay. I was just checking to see the official hearing book to see if Fluharty testifies or if Kovar is the one who testifies.
See, I didn't know
that
Buck was
Flew
down.
Hardy came over here.
Well, that was probably before you went down.
Probably. Because it must have been.
Yeah, I think he went after daylight from what he's described, because he's down there when the big one comes, and he warns them,
Yeah.
as an old miner, that it's gonna come. I just wanted to see if he says he meets. Let me tell you, this is Alex Kovar answering questions. Was it daylight or dark when you went to Maud's Run? It was daylight. Yes, sir, it was daylight. How long were you over around the Maud's Run fan and up at the Simon's house? Just long enough to pick the truck up. Goes on. I'm trying to see if Flew Hardy's in here, and I'm not seeing it. Did you notice where the fan blade went through the air duct? No. He indicates that he did not get out to look at anything, Kovar, but you said you met him down there. After daylight, did you
I
not see
didn't
him?
meet him. I seen him over at the.
I want you to tell me where you saw him. At the transformer?
Yeah.
Although by daylight you could see, let me see what he says about the fan. May I read you that so you can comment on it? Do you ordinarily, they ask him, visit Maud's Run except on trouble? I go every Monday to check it, but he's also, as you know, a troubleshooter that would be sent out then for trouble.
Yeah.
Let me go back to where he comes over. I want to find that. Cecil Selders, he says, is his foreman. I thought Flew Hardy and he were over here together. Man, I don't know where I got that. I'm not seeing Flew Hardy yet. Want to find and see if I can. I was in Maud's Run. I tried to call, but I didn't get the call. I went over the hill from number 2 fan and went into Maud's Run to check the fan. When I got up on the bank there, the explosion doors was open on the fan and smoke was pouring out. This is the mechanic testifying.
That's right.
And I didn't know what to do. I just backed the truck up. He doesn't indicate he got out of his truck. He told me that separately. It's not here. And ran up to some people's house there, the Simons, and beat on the door. A woman came out and I asked if I could use the phone, okay? Now, when you looked at him sometime after daylight, and when you first saw him, you don't know if this was the first or the second time he was there or what. You only know you saw him where? Up on the bank at the transformer?
Well, now as you go down the road, you look straight across
We
from
will.
the fan,
Okay.
and you see a big set of transformers over there, and there's a fence around it.
That's past the fan up on the bank.
Just right across from the fan, on the right-hand side. And that's where I seen this man. Now, I don't know who he was.
You're not saying it was Kovar?
No, I didn't say it
I'm
was
with you.
Kovar.
Okay,
I
I'm
said
with
it
you.
looked like it. It looked like the
It
same.
looked like Kovar,
Yeah.
but you knew Kovar from the early.
Yeah,
You could
yeah.
describe it. It looked about like
But
him
see,
inside.
I wasn't close enough to know him.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you now. Okay. I wanted to just maybe along Lawrence Riggs. Flew Hardy isn't in here as far as I can see in a fast run. I thought I would locate him and have an answer. I think some people testify about him, but I'm not in a very quick run picking it up. I was going to try to see how that fit in with what Mr. Stowe just said, but it is.
Mike, you want me to cut this off for a minute?
No,
for you?
we're fine. I'm not going to do any more on this. What I want to do, see if what we could do is, if Mr. Stowe, who just added that description of going out to work somewhere 6:30, 6:40, meets this green pickup, and he knew Flew Hardy, okay, and he was coming in, but he didn't stop at the first hole, the intake,
Right.
which has a fence around it then too.
Yeah.
In the bucket there.
And then where did he pull up
He
to?
pulled up to the shaft, right over from the shaft here.
There is a bucket there, right?
There's a bucket down there. They took the bucket from down there. They had to take
Yeah,
the
that's
bucket.
where they had to take it to Mayhem's, because Mayhem's
Yeah, yeah.
just
They took it over there to get
Yeah.
them men out.
Okay.
But that was a
Were
long-
you all inconvenienced in this explosion? In other words, could you live in here considering that this was one of the main explosions over number 9? And they were going to try to smother the fire here, weren't they at Maud's Run? Did they let you all live in here? You couldn't get in and out really because they had big crews of mine
no.
inspectors and all.
Let's get out.
They made you get out. Who came and told you? The sheriff or who?
No, federal.
The federal inspector came?
Yeah.
And he told you they were going to need the roads, everything in here, right? And moved you out? They told you to get out? Or
I
what?
told him, you see, when he come up here, he come out there and he said, Sam, you're going to have to leave out of here. And I said, I ain't going to leave out of here.
Okay.
That's what
When
I
was
said.
that? About a day after the explosion?
That was that evening.
That evening?
I think that evening.
Same
Yeah.
November 20, okay.
He borrowed my ladder. He they first borrowed my ladder that morning and took it down there. They borrowed that ladder before that explosion, the big explosion come. When the big explosion come, and tore up my ladder.
Now, I wish you'd tell again, when that big explosion came, which is about a little before 8 o'clock that
It
morning,
was something around 8 o'clock.
and what did it look like to your eye?
It looked like an oil well flowing.
Well, what was up in the air? Why, what?
Plastic pipe,
Yeah.
ties,
Part of your ladder up in there?
plastic pipe went clean to his house. Went up in them
How far
pine
was
trees.
your house?
Well,
Mr. Stout?
it's up the road, I suppose, probably. Where that
Quarter of a
tie,
mile or not? From the explosion?
where that tie, I figure it's 100 yards where the tie is stuck in the ground, about 2 feet.
I had to pull it out with the tractor.
So it must have shot up in the air several hundred feet to come down like a missile into the ground, huh?
I can take you down them pine trees. I figure maybe 150 yards from now and show you old pipe and stuff, no doubt of it.
Still laying in it
Yeah.
8 years later.
Yeah.
By old pipe, what would you mean? What
Old
dimension of
plastic
pipe?
Plastic
What?
pipe.
Oh, I'd say it's, what, 4 inch?
4 inch.
4-inch pieces of pipe. So this was a huge, it was like a wartime explosion, all a huge blow, right?
That's well, I could find pieces, you know, because I wasn't here when the explosion. I just seen
All these
pieces.
pieces
laid.
30 feet long come out of there.
I can show you
30 feet
pieces
long
still
pieces
laying
of
there.
pipe, okay. And you're talking about ties, do you mean necessarily plastic or cross ties?
Railroad.
Regular railroad ties.
Yeah.
So when they bury themselves 2 feet in the mud, they gotta be up in the air.
In the road.
In the road.
In the road.
We
You're
pulled
talking
out.
about that rocky road we
The road
came
goes
in?
up to
The
his
dirt
house.
road that goes up to
Oh,
my house.
okay, it's a softer road. I
Yeah.
said that one couldn't have taken very much. If it took it, it was coming from the moon.
I got them set out there for posts.
You found them all and took them
They
away?
gave them
huh?
to me.
Yeah.
And I pulled them out of the ground with the tractor and set them.
How many ties disappeared? Where were they stacked that they would have blown up like that?
Well, I don't know. I figured they were stacked someplace in the mines. He picked them up. The explosion picked them up.
It brought them through the mine and up the
Up
shaft.
the shaft.
You think maybe like in a supply hole or
These new
something?
ties.
How many new ties? Maybe you had to just guess. How many
Well,
that
I
you
can-
got? How many did you get? You just got part of them.
I think I got 5 or 6.
That weren't splintered or smashed to pieces.
Well,
Others were smashed up, I guess.
Some of them was, some of them
Yeah.
wasn't.
But you got 5 or 6 good ties.
Yeah, yeah.
So somewhere, if you had to guess, in the mine, this explosion is so bad, it travels along from a supply storage point,
Yeah.
down a main heading, and comes up a shaft, what, 800 feet?
Yeah.
Into the air, and embeds itself in the ground, okay. I just want to get the force of the explosion we're dealing with.
Well, down to the intake shaft, when it blowed out there,
Mhm.
there's still one of these your
You can see it rail.
rails sticking in the hill there.
A steel rail.
Yeah.
Was that not the shaft that I remember about the 5th, 6th day of the explosion? They try to cap it,
Yeah, they tried to catch
and they drive in a lot of concrete, but steel rails of what length? 10 foot or?
Well, that looks to me like he's about 12, 14 foot long.
12 foot, the regular railroad,
Railroad tie. I mean.
and they were just lifted up railroad.
Yeah.
You're not talking about ties,
I'm
now, you're
talking
talking
about
about
the
rail, steel rail.
Yeah.
And you could take me up how far on that hill?
I can show you up, I'd say maybe 100, 200 feet above the road down to Lower
In a
Street.
bunch of pines or something? like that?
No, it's just open woods there.
Open woods, and it shot up in the air
And
and
stuck
came
in the air.
down, and it's still standing there like a monument, huh?
Right.
Mike, in the 54 explosion, it was told in the hearing
Yeah.
that the roof bolt, portion of the roof bolt that
Yeah.
the nut is wrapped around,
Yeah.
about an inch of it, that inch bent with the force of the explosion at that time. So when you're talking about force, you're talking about something like
Yeah.
a bomb, atomic bomb.
Right. Okay. Well, we got the force of the explosion now, and we got and Mod's Run intake was what they were trying to cap at a later point. They thought they could control the fire. That was unsuccessful, And wasn't this the place they had to try to dump 26 truckloads of limestone from Preston County or something?
They dumped them in there.
But let me find out what happened to you all. They come and told you had to get out, and you said, "No, I'm not going." And they borrowed your ladder, and then how'd they persuade you?
They asked me why I didn't want to go. Well, I said, that fan has been down there, I said, all this time, and it's deviled me all this time, and he ain't gonna devil me no more because it's down now, and I can live in
I think
peace.
that's beautiful. You hated if it's been deviling you, and all of a sudden it's peaceful and they take you out. Okay.
Yeah.
They hadn't housed it yet like they did afterwards. Did they ever house it before the
And then the
explosion?
superintendent come, the one I worked for.
Oh, at Rachel.
No, from Saul. I liked him pretty good.
Who was he that came?
I can't think of his name.
Not Katie Kinsell.
Is he the man that you said that
You don't
worked
mean
in 98?
Yeah,
Well, we'll find him.
We'll find him.
He's my
98 or 93? Which
he's
one?
my 98. He's my age. I went there to
How
get.
old are you now, Mr. Stout?
I'm 71,
What year were you born?
1905.
He's about your age,
Yeah.
and he's a retired superintendent from 98. They knew to send the right man to you.
Yeah.
Okay. How did he handle you?
Well, he came up and he told me, he said, "Now, it should be the best you just leave out and, you know." And I said, "Well, I suppose I just rolled over." He said, "We'll take you to Fairmont and put you in a hotel, or we'll take you any place." I said, "No, I got a place to go." I said, "I got 11 kids. I can go to any of them."
Okay, and you went and stayed with some of your
Yeah,
children?
went down and stayed with my boy.
You took your wife with you?
Yeah,
You took that 12-year-old son I just met out here?
yeah.
They butchering that beef out there?
No, no.
Which one is it?
No,
Which
just
boy?
me and my wife.
What happened to this boy? This
Well,
12-year-old boy there?
He stayed down there at Mark's down here.
All right.
And,
And then,
we had another boy here too,
all right.
and he stayed down at Mark's.
So you went and stayed. Did they pay you for that?
Yeah.
It's like damages for loss of your
Paid
house.
me wages. Like I was working in the mine.
Just paid you regular wages
Regular
as
wages.
and in lieu of paying you for room and board. They didn't pay you in addition
No, just paid
expenses.
me wages.
They pay for that ladder they blew up on you?
No.
So your wages had to cover that, huh?
I went
I
down.
hope you didn't pay too much taxes on those wages.
I went down and got the old ladder and fixed it home after the explosion. I got part of it and fixed it back up.
Part of it was fractured though.
Yeah,
huh?
all it's about tore up.
About tore up. Mr. Stowe, were you that lucky in terms of reimbursement?
I went with him, with me and my daughter,
Yeah.
and him and her went down.
Yeah, but I think you were telling me earlier that you learned if Consol knew that you were here
Yeah,
and lived in this hollow, they would have had to pay you too to get
Yeah.
you out of here, right? And you forgot about that at the time. You just got out, right?
right.
So you never got any of these wages.
He went to his mother's estate.
Okay, but
I stayed 2 or 3 nights where he did down at Junior's on
yeah.
Plum Run.
And how long did you all have to stay out of here? Because your house was not injured, no more than debris in the area. You were not injured.
No,
physically. Your land, did they ever have to pay you damages
No.
for your surface?
Yeah, but when they drill the holes down, they take it.
They pay damages for drill. Are some of the drill holes down to try to reach the men? They
Yeah,
lowered
yeah.
listening devices and methane, measuring devices. How many of those are on this hillside? And where are you pointing?
They drilled 2 down in the mines, right up there. They
You're
drilled 2.
pointing further up on the hill at the head of Mods Run,
Yeah.
where it's dead ending.
They drilled 2 on my place up there,
All right.
and they started to drill a 3rd one right up there.
But 2 they went down
The
with.
2 of them they got down.
Mhm.
I think they got both of them down. I ain't so
Where
sure.
did they think they were getting into by going down here?
They're
What?
supposed to be getting in on a side track someplace. I don't know exactly where.
Okay.
But they told me, but I forget
Yeah.
now. And they got this one part of the way down, and
Third.
they decided to close the mine at night.
Yeah, okay. But 2 of them they drilled through as part of the bore
Yeah,
holes
yeah.
that they were trying to test with. Okay. Is there anything else you remember about the explosion that I have failed to ask you? Or Eli, do you know of some things that were raised in any of these? I think we've covered
The
everything.
only thing that I'd like to ask is this: on how many occasions, Mr. Stout, did you or can you remember that they did have trouble at Mott Fan, this fan that
Yeah.
where the fire was, where the smoke?
You mean
was?
before the fire?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, earlier, in the
Oh,
earlier
the-
years, yeah.
They had a good bit of trouble with the fan. He was down several times, wasn't it, Ron?
Well, when you say several, about how many?
Oh, I'll say 5 or 6 times during the time that I've lived here since they put it in. We were down that many
Okay.
times anyhow.
Which meant he was down and not able to ventilate.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
When you're saying it was down, for what what length of period?
Well, sometimes I'd call them, and sometimes they'd get word and come before I did call them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Was it down for an hour, 2, 3?
Well, that last time it was down. I know it was down 2 hours, but I couldn't say
The
how.
last time you're referring to which time?
That was when the snake was
The
in.
snake was in it, okay.
I know it was down 2 hours at that time,
Okay.
And prior to that,
but I don't know how long it was down before that time. But when it had this vibration in it,
Mm-hmm.
now it was down
Through blades at that time.
Yeah. They come and leveled it up. It was out of level or something.
Yeah.
It got out of balance.
That might have stopped some of the downtime.
Yeah,
on it
yeah.
When they leveled it better. How long have the Simons lived in that house, roughly?
Well, they ain't lived in there too awful long.
The fan was in there before they moved in?
Oh yeah.
Did it ever have trouble before they moved in?
Yeah, yeah. They
Or
had
was all the
trouble.
trouble since
Yeah,
then?
yeah.
Or before then it had
Yeah.
trouble too? Who used to live in that house?
Russ McCann.
Did he call the company?
Yeah.
Where is Russ McCann now?
He lives over on Morton's Run.
Have you ever talked with him? Does he remember the trouble on it?
Oh yeah.
Have you
yeah.
like met him since and
Oh yeah,
chatted?
yeah, yeah. He was a good friend of mine.
Let me ask this. Since you testified at that hearing, these are small communities. You know, the outside reporters who have been here, they don't know the way Fairmont is in a way. It's sort of been known in a town. Like, you know, Martha Bradley, people who've lived here all their lives that know you, they'd say, you know, it said that Sam Stout said such and such. It happened at such and such an hour. And he's not a man apt to make up a story like something or something. You know, if it happened that way, it happened that way, you know, much earlier. And they sort of will talk about it. Have you found that people will stop you, that they're aware that maybe you have, do you find any of that?
No, never did.
Or you don't get out of the holler that much, do you, in
Well,
public? do you?
the only thing that ever I heard that anybody
Yeah.
said, the Simons said
Yeah.
that he didn't blow up at that time.
Okay.
Now, they never told me now. Simon was a good friend of mine. We talked about the fan. He never even told me anything about it. But I heard that he told of some of the companies
Mhm.
that he didn't blow up at that time.
At 4.
Yeah.
They denied what you said.
Well, I heard he did.
That's
Now,
what you
now,
heard,
He
yeah.
never told me that. that.
No. I'd be very happy to, you know, the Simons are in the book. They
Yeah.
did, both of them testified. And I have it here. This I can't get my finger on.
Now, I heard he said that. Now, that's all I know.
And I knew Miss Simons. If I knew Mr. Simons, I'm sure I know Mr. Simons, but I don't know him as well as Mrs. Simons because she reported to me when she was a home health aide. You remember those years she left in uniform and did home visiting?
Yeah.
And now he testifies at page 295, and maybe she does not testify. There it is. 297. Maybe she doesn't. But she told me that Mr. Kovar was on the porch of her house in the dark, which is not what's in the hearing book here.
Well, you see,
That you see that it was earlier.
Yeah.
In other words, when she first told
Yeah,
me about it,
yeah.
I don't mean what her husband's going to say here. Her first statement to me was that he was so nervous that he could not dial.
Yeah.
And he wrote the phone number down and asked her to
Yeah.
dial. Would you like to hear what
Yeah, I'd
he did?
like to
This
hear
is
it.
James
yeah,
A.
yeah,
Simons.
I never heard of
Where are you regularly employed, Joanne? I'm skipping a lot.
Yeah.
What is your job? Maintenance foreman, which
Yeah.
is what you just said. So forth. How far is your home located from the Mods Run fan? Approximately 15 to 1,800 feet. 5 to 600 yards? No way. Would you say right there is not so? You all have stepped off. 1,800 feet is 600 yards. Isn't he closer to the fan than you
Yeah,
are?
oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I always thought of him as being more like 100
I said-
150
I
old?
said-
Maybe 200
I
yards.
said 200 yards.
He certainly is half the distance you are.
Yeah.
If you're 4, he's
Oh,
2. Huh?
Yeah, yeah.
This doesn't sound right because that
Mhm.
company house can be measured. We can almost step it off,
Yeah.
can we?
We need to measure on the speed on it.
Did a number 9 employee come to your house during the night of November 20 to use your telephone or for any other reason? And he's a foreman at Rachel's in the same company.
Yeah.
That morning, what time was it, do you recall? I would say approximately 5:30. Now it's dark that morning. Even that is, you see, not daylight like Kovar was saying, you know. See, Kovar could have come back when you saw him. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
But the question that you're implying is, was there trouble, and what could he have been there earlier trying to stop it, and they didn't retreat the man? Did you permit the man to use your telephone? I did. Do you know the man who made that call? I believe his name is Kovar or something like that. You're calling him Kovac. I don't know for sure what his name is. Was he the man that made the call? Did this man, I'm jumping, you know, to give you the idea, this man who came to make the telephone call, did he tell you there was an explosion, or did you know it before? I knew it before. How did you know it? That's before he showed up. I was awake when the explosion happened. That's backing up what you're saying. It's in the dark and well before 5:30. You follow me? Like, will you relate your conversation with this man when he came to make the phone call? I didn't talk to him when he came to make. My wife did. That's my talk. I was dressing. How long did this number 9 employee remain at your house? That I don't know. I slipped the sweater on and went to the fan and came back and he was leaving. Now you didn't meet him at the back. And when you met him, it's daylight. This is not dark. He's describing dark now.
So he was there before.
Yeah, I think it is an interesting. I didn't realize that I was so anxious that his wife had told me that he had left their house and she'd reached the company and then was calling me and it's 5:30 or 5:40. See what I mean? It's like it puts it back, the whole thing earlier than anybody's willing to admit. And if it is earlier, then Sam Stout's the first guy that broke it open. You follow me? That it was earlier. That's the problem. You know?
Well, it's bound to be.
You don't explode a mine if you don't accumulate gas. This size of explosion, George Wilson, you know, the section foreman who led the 8 men out, got rescued out of a bucket. He had the good sense to know where to go to the closest shaft and lay down at the bottom. Even though he says they got covered with a foot of debris, you know, as it blew up. But if you're ever going to get rescued, you get to the bottom of the shaft. That's why you're saying you didn't stop. You follow me?
That's right.
Now, and then they had to wait. They didn't get him out till 10:30. He thought he was dead. I got him on a thing like this. He talked to me. He's a retired foreman who rescued me. You know, he was in the group rescue. And he said, nobody that hasn't been there doesn't know how it is. You think you're dead 100 times over in 5 hours. You know, they don't know that. You don't think they're ever going to find you. Follow me? And he says, that was a gassy man. So unbelievably gassy. On my section, you couldn't have tried to get out cold. You know, it would just release so much gas. You know, you'd have to stop, and they better not push me for coal as a foreman because you had to watch the gas. But then on this point that we were talking about, he said, there's no way, I've been in mines too long, that much gas could have got loose without there being a short circuit in the ventilation, you know, to let it accumulate that fast. You know, 3 minutes, 10 minutes down might blow up a section. But to blow up a whole mine like that blew up, it takes an awful lot of downtime. And that's what you were worried about on that fan, right? Well, Eli just made the point, and as we got on, this man does say he was awake when the explosion happened, and he doesn't even say how much before.
Ron just said also that he saw lights on when he went down, indicating that it was dark. There wouldn't be lights.
That's right. This is more evidence of darkness when you went down, right?
Yeah.
It's more evidence they've been awakened by something, but they live in a company house, and he works for the company as foreman, and they're unable to say that all of this. In other words, if they back up the Stout story that it happened before something, then where in the hell is the rest of the company story? You follow me? It all has to happen at 5:30, or else they're in trouble. Well, why didn't they save those men's lives, right?
Right.
So he slipped on a sweater and went to the fan. Let me jump up. You mentioned that you know there had been some trouble. Oh, I'll see. I'll see something. What time was the alarm set for on the morning of November 20? Alarm is set at 5:30. Now what it was set at that morning, I couldn't say for sure, but it normally is set at 5:30. Do you know of any reason why it would be set at any other time than 5:30 on that particular morning? No. This is your normal waking time? Right. When the number 9 employee rapped at the door, were you still in bed or in the bedroom, or had you got up? I was up downstairs. See, everything indicates the alarm didn't wake them up. There are things that happened. You mentioned that you knew there had been some trouble before he arrived at the house. What caused you to think there had been trouble? I was awake and heard it. What did you hear, Mr.
We're running
Simons?
out.
You turn it over?
I'll turn it over now.
Just a noise. Could you give us the idea, the type of noise you heard?
Hold it.
I want to say this on the tape.
Say it
The
now.
company lawyers, they've got all this and are reading it.
Mm-hmm.
All officials can read it, but the little people, with relatives in the mine or who live in Maud's Run, and they don't even know what the record says. Like Mr. Stout says, he has waited for 8 years. You told me earlier you'd like to know what the record said. You told me he was a witness.
Right.
You, I think, indicate your name was called and spelled wrong in the hearing, but nobody called you to say that you saw the clock and it was about 10 after 5 and it was a long time. You'd been up already. You follow me? Everything contradicts and nobody called anybody, right? Now, do you think if your wife was here, she would support what you have been telling me?
I know she would, because she knows.
She remembers you. She
Yeah.
would say you said
Yeah.
it was what hour that when you
4
went in?
o'clock.
Okay. You mentioned that you knew, this is Mr. Simons, there had been trouble. What did you hear? Noise, remember that? Give us an idea of a type of noise. This is Mr. Simons testifying. At first I thought it sounded more like a jet breaking the sound barrier, because planes are through here, and that was what I thought it was to start with. When did you change your mind that it might not have been a plane or something? When I looked out the back door and seen the smoke coming out of the fan. It was coming out at 5:30 of 6 o'clock in the morning? Yes, sir. Now, we all know
Leading question.
it's a leading question. They changed a man who said it happened before 5:30 and led him into a later time because, he's a foreman. He ain't going to cross the officials, right? I would say, yeah, this is now a Bureau of Mines, Mr. Park, you see, is leading them to a later time, because I think on his own, he's already, what we say, it was before 5:30. And now they've got him up, moving it up. Thick enough or white enough or black enough that you could see it in pitch dark, 1,800 feet away? I could see the smoke against the skyline, yes. About what time did you go from your house to the Mods Run shaft? It was approximately 5:30. See, he's taking them back again to his original story, that he heard it earlier, got time to get dressed, had time to be going out there, right? That it didn't happen when... let's see, did you go to the shaft? Well, I didn't go to the shaft. No, I was by myself, but I didn't go to the shaft. I went within 100 or 100 feet of the shaft in the road.
That's right.
On the return shaft at the fan, now this is before you see him, because this is dark, see? Remember, this is the earlier. Later, you're going to see him later, okay? Right, would you describe how it looked to you at that time? This is, he's saying, is 5:30, something like that, isn't it? That time, the only thing I could see was that the explosion doors were opened and that the smoke was coming out the explosion doors at that time. It was gray. It wasn't daylight yet. It was not daylight. Was the fan trying to run, or was it operating, or was it stopped? It was stopped. Are there any type of electric lights around the townhouse or building? Yes. Were they burning? No. I'll ask you that. I forgot to, Mr. Stowe.
They wouldn't burn.
But they would have been burning at night, normally?
Yeah.
So that when you're down there, you testified at an earlier time than this, perhaps before 5, because you
Right.
returned and make phone calls, right?
Right.
But there's already electricity down at this whole
Right.
unit. Okay. How long did you observe it, etc.? Let me see. Then your information on who he called, Kovar, tried to call, or what transpired. Did you talk to your wife about it? He didn't complete his call. He asked her if she would complete the call. That he was going to Llewellyn Porter. That's what Kovar tells me. And he made the phone. She made the phone call. In your opinion, about what time did you hear the noise and did this explosion occur? Now, he is placing it later than you are. This is what could be me. I would say between 20 and 25 after 5. You see, and you heard, you believe there was smoke before. You mentioned that the people who examine the fan or visit the fan occasionally use your phone. Have you ever seen this man before? Yes. And you believe it was Mr. Kovar? I think that was his name. Would you describe him? I can only tell you that he's a small, short, small-built fellow. Give us some idea of when you heard any further noise or explosions. I don't know exactly what time it was, but I was standing in the road with Mr. Fluharty when the second explosion came. I told you Fluharty appears here. I thought he testified.
You must.
Now, we were standing at the intake. This would be around close to 8 o'clock. Has to be. Everybody else testifies. Is this who you saw standing there? Or you left them there and went up here to feed your cattle, didn't you?
These men, now this sheriff, there was Jim Simon and then this other guy. Now, I didn't know Buck Fluharty at that time, but I know this other fellow come from Rachel.
Oh, yeah, there was a Rachel Miner.
Yeah.
Right.
He drove up there.
So they're describing later. Now, was that standing around watching the big explosion
That
at
was
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock. 8 o'clock.
Yeah. Did you see fire the second time out of both shafts? That's right. You see, that's intake and...
Well, I didn't see the lower shaft.
See,
I couldn't
fire.
see it.
Did it pyramid high? Now, his house right there to see it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did it pyramid high, or how far did it erupt out of the shaft? I would say 400 feet or better.
Yeah.
On other occasions, when a number 9 employee came to the house and used the telephone, asked to use it, was the fan operating normally? Was this a routine telephone call? Or do you remember whether there were ever difficulties or troubles with the fan, like it being stopped or anything of that type? The phone in my house, they use it all the time. I lease off the company, and that's, I don't know whether it's in the lease, but when I leased the place, I was to have the telephone in the house for their use when they needed it. And they would use it at any time, you and I talked about this, that they desired it. It's like they got rights, the entry in this house. So there have been numerous calls, and people use the phone at my house for company business. What for, I don't know. I never asked them, but they use the phone since I have been in there anytime they wanted it, day or night. Does that not, Eli, in your opinion, substantiate the point there was trouble? They were not using the phone. Why would a routine maintenance man use a phone? You know of any reason? If you're making a Monday morning inspection of a fan, you check the switches, you check it all, and you go on in your truck and go home.
You don't normally
You check
report
your logbook,
but you just
and
record,
record your initials, and you go on, right?
Well, don't he go to all of them?
Yeah, I mean, he has to do this so that the use of the phone, he says day or night, backs up Mr. Stout, in my opinion.
But there has been...
They don't realize they asked him enough till there's been trouble, hasn't there? He knows it better than anybody, but he isn't spelling it out for him because he rents their house and works for them.
No, he didn't work for them. He worked for
he worked for Joanne.
Oh, Joanne belongs to Easter. Yeah, but he's got to be careful.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
Now look, did you make an inquiry ever when the fan was down, or do you know whether it ever was down? I've called at one time and notified them that their power is off there. That means you've done some of the notifying, not them.
We've called them several times.
You've called several times. I want that. You remember yourself calling and telling them their fan was off, because he says only once. His wife.
And on one question I put to you, what did you mean by several? I think you said...
Well, I'll say 4 or 5 times. The fan's been down.
Over what, 2 or 3 years? How many years before the explosion? 4 or 5 times?
Since they put the fan in.
Okay, all right. I've called at one time and notified them that their power was off. This is Jim Simons. which at the time they knew it and was on the way to see about. You got to remember, they claim they got a fail-safe system that tells them,
Yeah.
but that's been
One of the
the
questions I'd like to ask Mr. Stout, we talked about this very briefly, Mr. Stout, and that was about the chart on the fan that somehow disappeared. Did you comment on that?
No,
you know anything about the chart?
no, I didn't. But that's fluoride. This Buck. This is
No, this is James Simon I'm reading on.
Well, I
This
know-
Buck, I see, the man we mentioned in the road, yeah. What did he say?
Him and they guarded this fan down there for I'll say 2 years after this explosion. They stayed right there and had a shanty there. And I asked them. I said, if them people don't believe that a mine blew up at 4 o'clock, why didn't he produce a chart of that fan down at the hearing? And Buck says they ain't nobody could find it. I said, it's bound to be in the fan. I said, that part of the fan didn't blow up. It just blew the end off of the fan and that door was
Now
up.
I want you, this is very important, Eli, I'm grateful to you for bringing it up. I want you to very slowly describe where the chart was. Was it at the fan or was it at the transformer first?
It was in the fan house. It's a great big thing like this. It's made like a map.
Like a what?
It's made like a map.
You meaning that it's a square rectangle?
No, it's perfectly round. And it goes in a dial. It goes in a dial.
You're describing what to me now? The chart that's writing, the way it writes?
It writes, it marks its own time.
It's going around on a 24-hour clock.
That's right.
And a finger with a pen in it is writing.
Yeah, that's right.
Mechanical finger,
Yeah.
okay.
All right, the minute that fan
Have you
goes
seen
down,
it
that
too
stops.
much, Stoller, or is he-
I just seen the time or two whenever they'd have them out there.
And they're supposed to change them. I forget now how
You
many
think they're
times.
7-day clocks or daily clocks?
No, they change them about every month or so, I think.
Oh,
Mike, I could take
That may
you
be
to
every 30
Barrett.
days. I don't know how they do change them. But I see them change them down there. And then whenever they mark the whole thing around, it tells the time the fan went down and tells when it started and everything on that chart.
This chart is tied in mechanically to the fan. When the fan stops, the chart stops.
That's right. That's right.
Well, the other,
And that it come in my mind when I went down there that morning. It was in my mind to ask them, you see, because I figured it was good. They had something up their sleeve to ask them where the chart for that fan was at. But it slipped my mind, just like it slipped my mind about him again.
that's all
Let me ask you
right.
this question, Mr. Stout. How far from the fan where the explosion doors are located, how far from there in the opposite direction would the chart be?
Well, now you can see that you go down. There's a big house built on the right-hand side of that fan. You see,
What's it made of?
made out of steel, and that was never bothered.
And was the chart inside of
The
that?
chart's inside of that.
The force of the explosion came up the shaft and out the explosion doors, is that
It
right?
blowed them.
And later it took the whole thing off? Blew it all straight up or what?
Well, first
The first one just blowed the doors open,
Yeah.
and that shut the fan
But
down.
the 8 o'clock one
It
blew
blowed.
straight up and blew the
It blowed.
housing off.
It blowed the blades clean up here in my bottom.
Now, wait a minute, now you're talking about let me, I want to talk so someone who's never seen it can see it. A shaft is vertical and coming straight up,
Yeah.
right? It's round or it's rectangular?
Round.
It's a round shaft.
Round shaft.
About what diameter?
Well, I say it's 16 feet inches.
All right. And it is down, we know, something like 800 feet, whatever the mine is at that point.
600.
That's
600.
600.
It's 646 feet.
646 feet
I
at
think
the
that's-
Mods Run
Yeah.
outlet, okay. It's coming straight up vertically.
Yeah.
I want to just, have it, us talking and get it in the record. It then has a housing which turns it at a 90-degree angle,
Yeah,
and at the end of a housing is a big fan
Yeah.
motor,
yeah.
is that right, with a large blades,
Yeah.
about 16 foot in diameter? The whole works?
No, the blades ain't that long.
Not the blades, but they're at each end, right? They're not single blades, or are they half the diameter.
No, the blades bolts just on just like a fan blade.
All right, so it's much less than the whole diameter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, but that is drawing the air out.
Yeah, pull the air out.
And then down the road, out of Maud's Run, further a few hundred feet, is the intake,
It
which is
pulls air.
just a hole in the ground
Yeah. Pull
with
the
a
air.
fence around it, sucking in that amount
Yeah,
of
that's
air,
right.
fresh air. Okay,
Yeah,
we're together. Okay.
yeah, that's right.
Now the first explosion, there are explosion doors on the end of those fans.
Yeah.
We're talking about the outlet shaft. The force of it simply blew the doors open,
That's
and
right.
smoke is showing. Right? Are we you together, Mr. Stout? What
Right.
you saw?
And shuts the
But it
fan
went,
down.
and it blew out the fan motor.
Yeah.
Let's say maybe all electricity was shut
No,
down. We don't.
I don't
Why
think
do you
it
say
hurt the motor one bit.
I
I
want to
think,
hear why you say that.
well, I don't think it hurt the motor one bit because when it knocked the power, that's what shut the fan down.
That is the reason you think Kovar or whoever you saw on the hill might have
Yeah.
been looking at the transformer,
Yeah.
seeing if he could get the fan on.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, the next explosion at 8 o'clock, there's still, it has not bothered the 90-degree turn of the
No.
housing. This one is such explosion that you wouldn't deny what Jim Simon said, that it blew 400 feet in the air. It was like wartime,
That's
right?
right.
It like blows up like Hiroshima, right?
Yeah.
Straight up and
Yeah.
takes the steel. Do pieces of that steel go out everywhere? The housing? It takes everything up, huh? And you're telling me a steel rail about 12,
Well,
16
fetch that rail out down to the lower shaft.
It's lower shaft here now.
Fetch the
We're
rail
talking
out.
about the lower shaft with the
That was
rail.
the lower shaft was the intake, the
Yeah,
lower one, yeah.
yeah.
But now let's take the fan blades. Either the blades or the whole fan were blown clear up onto your property?
No, the blades. The blades was blowed up clean down here in my garden down here.
How many yards would that have been?
We picked up a coffee sack full of them and sold them up at the junkyard.
A coffee sack full of...
Blades. There's lumion blades. But they was thick aluminum.
Oh, I see. They're not great big steel things. They're,
I'll go get you a piece of one of them right now.
you're going to give me a souvenir, like a wartime souvenir, a piece of a blade. Huh? Are we running out of
Very
here?
nice covering. Do you want me to?
Mr. Stull, I've neglected one very important factor. In asking you to identify where you used to work in 1968, you said a lumber company. Where are you presently employed?
At Federal Tube Mines, America Run.
That belongs to Eastern Associated
Right.
Coal. How long have you been employed there?
I've been over there to be 6 years in February.
Okay, what is your job there, Mr.
I'm a
Stull?
miner operator.
Is this, what size crew does Eastern use? Like, is that a mine that they have long wall in as well as
Yeah.
continuous miners?
Right.
But you're on a continuous miner crew?
Right.
About what size crew do they generally use?
Oh, I'd say around 8 to 10 men.
Okay. And what is it, a twin bore you're operating? What's the name of the?
Joy.
A Joy.
Twin bore.
Twin bore, okay. All right, and you probably have been in the more modern era with not the kind of dust that the older men tell you about.
Right.
Now they've wet it down, I guess, and they've done a late and they're a little more.
They've increased the ventilation from
Yeah,
6 to
but
9.
I guess you have enough older men that tell you these
Yeah.
things the way it was. Aren't all these mines gassy? Is that your?
Right.
Do you know what your mine releases?
Not
This one
exactly, no.
releases, I think Farmington number 9 releases 7 to 9 million cubic feet every 24 hours.
Hope the brine.
They're gas wells is what they're. These mines are you look at a mine map. You've seen the mine map at your mine? All these mines are so peppered with gas wells. It just gives you an idea what's coming out of your methane of your coal. That when you say, do you have to go around gas wells sometimes?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, I'm thinking about it. About a month ago, we cut into a gas well. Pipe.
Mm-hmm.
On the day shift, cut into a gas well pipe.
Mm-hmm.
And it gassed him off. Well, he heard pop at the face and went up, and there was pipe. It gassed him off. They got the gas down, got the miner back. They got the permit, and cut back into it so they could bleed the gas off. And I have no idea what gas it puts off of that well.
Do you normally test drill for these gas wells?
No, we usually don't cut
Into.
into them like that. It wasn't marked.
This was an unmarked one. Otherwise, your maps are rather accurate. I mean, but this is dynamite if you hit one.
Right.
It could be, right?
Yeah.
What was the first thing you know? You were on the machine when you
Well,
hit it?
no.
Oh.
Day shift.
They shifted, okay. But you could just spark, I mean, you could have gas on the spark all at once when
Right.
you hit them, couldn't you? And that'd be it. I did find Mrs. Simons. She's in here.
And they're selling gas.
I understand your mine does sell gas.
Yeah, they sell gas.
They're trying to experiment and bleed off the methane to both make it safer and sell it at
Right.
the same time. Now in across the line in Pennsylvania, they're selling up the gas in front of these before the mine opens 2 years ahead. Did you know that? They're drilling in and piping the gas to an actual methane gas you see will burn right in the cook stove.
Yeah.
They're bleeding the vein, hoping to make it safer and safer for the men. So like 2 years before they get there, they will have had pumps pulling out of boreholes. So hopefully, the British have done this for years. We're the least safe, country in the world. They've been wetting down. They've put water into the coal veins for 48 hours before they ever allow any miner or longwalls to touch it. The whole idea is not just to spray while you're doing it, but have the whole thing permeated. The coal has veins in it, and just get it to where it couldn't occur. Nothing could occur. Well, I think your concerns, if I understand what you're saying, are pretty important because nowadays you're in the mines.
Right.
All this matters to you.
I want to ask that question in
Yeah, I
regards
want-
to
yeah, I want you to
the
do
violent
that.
explosion. Mr. Stout, the second explosion, the terrific explosion that sent the blades up in your yard, so to speak, what damage did it do to the area that housed the chart
You mean the chart on
on that fan?
well, I wouldn't know whether it did anything to it or not because
Would it have damaged it
I wouldn't see how it would.
because it was removed from the...
Yeah, it was
Okay, that's a smart question.
because
Well,
that
and that-
part of that part of it, it filled off
It's
the other
offset.
side.
It's all set.
to where it was not in the
No.
line of
No, it wasn't,
explosion.
no. It blew the front end of the fan off. You see. It come through the motor part of it. Just ripped
So-
it apart,
So in your own mind, then the chart would have indicated
The chart should have been there.
the first time it stopped,
Yeah,
and probably
yeah.
well that would have been the end of it. It would have indicated the earlier hour
That's
that
right.
the fan had stopped.
Yeah,
Is it a fair statement, Mr. Stout, that generally you and the Simons have never sat and discussed this whole incident?
never did.
Okay. So that what I read you of Mr. Simons is that even though you're almost neighbors here
That's right.
and living way back in a hollow, you've never, and you neither, Mr. Stout?
No.
So that I think separately you may have heard some of these things, like people have heard about your testimony.
I never heard, my wife told me that she heard that Simon said they didn't blow up at that time. And I
At four.
thought,
No,
I
that's
never heard.
true. He is now I said I wanted you to understand I didn't want to mislead
I
you. I
know.
looked for his wife's testimony and I found it, but we don't have the time to go over it with you.
Yeah.
And it's much more important than going over anybody's stuff with you, is for you to tell it the way you know it.
Yeah.
And we're very grateful to both of you, but Mr. Stull is a newcomer, in the sense that he never had a chance to say anything. And I just think mine safety and the freedom of miners to be free of fear and gas, all is the most important thing in the world. And we're not wanting to make any scapegoats or blame anybody, but just get the facts out. Because if a company could cover up something, it is a terrible thing. The Watergate thing taught us that. I mean, if you get people in high office who can hide something crooked going on, house breaking or something. You know, that ain't the way we look to our leaders. We expect, like you work for Easton, you expect they're protecting your life every minute of the day up
I
on the
got
service.
4 boys in the mine.
Or what's the use of you going down there if you ain't got men?
Right.
Tell me that, Mr. Stout.
I say, I got 4 boys in the mines.
Tell me about them. Tell me their names and where they work. I'd like to
Well,
know.
I got 2 boys work for Consolidation Coal Company at Mountainville. One of them's a foreman. and the
What's
other-
his name?
His name is Samuel.
Oh, Junior, Sam Junior,
Yeah.
is a, what kind of foreman is he?
He's a section foreman.
Section foreman, okay.
And the other one's a mechanic.
At Moundsville?
Yeah.
Both work for Consol. All right.
Worked at the Crescent mine.
No, they work at McElroy.
McElroy, okay. And who are your other 2 sons?
That one just in here a while ago. He works same place in Works.
Now, this young man who's only 20 years old, is it Miracle Run with you? What's his name? We shook hands with him. He's out there butchering.
Dale.
Dale Glenn.
Dale was only 12 years old when this
Yeah.
occurred, huh?
Yeah.
Do you ever see him at the mine?
Oh, yeah. He
What's
works
his job? What?
He's on a loading machine.
load machine.
Oh, does he like it? He likes the money, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you like about it, if you don't mind my asking? What don't you like about it?
Well,
Being honest, is it fun in a way? Is it rough work? Like
it ain't that rough of work. I work for the lumber company, and I work just about 3 times as hard, or 4 times.
And you didn't get paid for it, did you?
And I got paid as much as I make in 1 shift now a week.
You got paid a week at the lumber company.
I got paid.
I want you to tell us, yeah.
I got paid the same.
Mhm.
I worked the 1 week for the lumber company, and I worked 1 shift for mines.
Like, what do you make a shift now, gross, before they take taxes?
60. That's $63.
$63, and it took you a whole week to earn that at the lumber company.
right.
Okay. Then, in terms, you're working 3 times as hard lifting lumber and hauling to
Right.
loading people's trucks, right?
Right.
And 8 long hours. There's no travel time deducted, nothing, right?
Right.
And there's no transportation problems on the belt or something. A lot of times you're just shut down because they can't get it out of there, I guess.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So, how about the variety? Do you enjoy, I mean, can you trade off with a shuttle car operator, or they make you stay right with it all the time?
Well, they usually make me stay at the mine.
Yeah. It's fun if you can trade, isn't it, a little more
Yeah.
for variety?
Well, it's like where I'm at now. They got a guy up there. They're training the miner operator,
Yeah.
and I'll go back. I'll help him, then I'll go back and help the load machine man. You know, give
Do
him.
you like that? Is that it's a
Yeah.
more pleasant,
Yeah.
isn't it, than doing the same thing
Yeah.
all the time? Do you ever find any, I don't mean pleasure, it's not fun ever, you know, to be even on a big, do you get a sense of, you know, this is a $500,000-$600,000 machine and I'm in charge of it. This isn't a $24 wheel bar or something, you know?
Right.
Do you ever have that sense that you're an important man, you get
Yeah.
out cold to keep the country going?
Right.
If you guys shut her down, this country ain't gonna have what? Electricity ain't gonna have nothing, you know, if you
Right.
don't get it, you know?
Yeah.
So that, you want fair wages and better wages than you're making even. You want good health care. Are you satisfied with your health care benefits? And
Yeah.
but you'd rather see more things, you know, you'd enjoy your work, just get more fringe benefits, maybe dental care or other things
Yeah.
in future bargaining. Am I right in reading your mind?
Right.
But you enjoy your work.
Right.
I think
I'd
that's
just
very
like to
important.
make a comment.
You know, what you really like.
I related to cotton mill workers.
Yeah.
I can relate to timber workers
Right.
now because these are basic industries.
That's right, yeah. Well, not even timber out in the woods. This is the cruddy retail end of it around here. Wasn't that what you were doing, or am I right?
I was out in the woods, yeah.
Were you out in the woods? I'm sorry. What were you doing out in the woods?
I was hauling post
All right, you're right. You were hauling into the,
mines.
that's who your lumber company was, forgive me, okay.
Well, the lumber company hauled stuff to a lot of control mines, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
So you were just working your tail off for next to nothing an hour.
right.
Well, a good example.
And you
Mike,
could cut your fingers off just as easy as you could get hurt.
Right.
a good example. I have a little dog of my son's, and that dog,
We did. Now that you're wearing
to
a
build a
cat
house
hat,
for that
well, we got
dog
it
cost
all
more
solved.
than $60 for lumber.
It was a cat eye shift, right?
Did you ever Did you ever hear what blew the mine up?
I don't think anybody. Tell us your view, Mr. Stout.
Well, I've
just for
always,
the record, the younger son, you didn't finish. You got two at Moundsville.
Yeah.
What's this young man's name? His brother's been telling him. Dale has been working 2 years at Miracle Run. You got a fourth man in the man.
Well, I got one. Rachel runs a penny machine.
He's the pinning?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roof bolt.
Ruth Bolton now has a helper on it, doesn't it? Or off
Yeah,
and on with
they always
that's
have
the way they, okay. Then, how many sons did you have?
7.
And 4 in the mines?
Yeah.
Okay. You proud of them?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you don't mind telling it the way it is? You're not afraid of the company? You earned your pension, didn't you?
Huh?
You earned your pension? You don't
No,
figure you gotta
no.
keep your mouth shut for anybody?
Yes, sir. Earned everything ever I got.
Okay. Tell us what you think, cause anything?
Well,
you
sir,
say?
I'll tell you what I think. The same guy that was pit boss in that coal mines cut coal with me at number 9.
Give us his name, go ahead.
Uh,
If you're talking about the mine
Albert
foreman,
Tash. Albert Tash.
Yeah, okay,
he was a mine foreman.
yeah.
He scraped for me on a cutting machine at number 9.
Go ahead.
See?
When you worked at number 9,
And I
you
worked at
scraped
number
for you.
9.
Okay.
She was hot too.
Yeah.
She was a hot place. And I'd tell Albert,
What's a hot place, Mr. Stout?
she's full of gas.
I'm wanting it on the record, okay? Very gassy mine, number 9,
Yes.
where you were, the section you were on, very gassy, okay.
I went through a curtain.
Mhm.
I went through a curtain one time, and that machine was shorted out, and it knocked me clean off that machine. And Albert was one of them guys that was a hurry-up guy. And well, a place that I wouldn't cut, he would cut it because he didn't care about the gas, you see.
Mhm.
And he was mine foreman the time that this mine blew
I know
up.
he was, yeah.
And they had this miner covered up,
They did,
not far from this shaft.
right,
He was shooting a slate off of it.
true.
And that's exactly what blew that mine up, and I've told all of them that's what blew it up. They've got that gob gas on fire and got that dust started, and the first explosion they had knocked that fan off.
Instead of drilling the
And
rocks, they
instead of
mudcapped.
retreating and taking the men right out, they fooled around trying to start, he sent for I think when the mechanic,
I've always said
do you
that.
believe with the people that said that when he sent for the mechanic, he didn't send for him from the slope bottom, he sent for him to start up the fan,
That's
and he
right.
couldn't do it, you know?
That's right,
And they let the gas gather.
that's right,
That's what some people believe.
that's right. And I believe the men was on their way out when that last explosion comes.
Well, they're finding them, the way they're finding them, first the company does not want to get very fast to these, see they got 53 of 78. The last 25 they're going awful slow about. Some people think they won't get them till 1985 and 1990. Because if they haven't been, if they don't find them back in the main headings coming off of their sections, see, they don't want to, like, that may tell you more about where they find them. Like they are going to be approaching where the machine was covered up. Was there trouble? Were those men not around that section? Then there was trouble. You see what I mean? And they don't know that yet. They're going around it.
I'll tell you what I believe. Now, I don't know whether I'll be right or not, but I'll tell you what I believe. I believe them men was a mining coal, and mining coal right on up to 8 o'clock when when this fan was down. Now, that's what I believe. Because I believe them men didn't know nothing about this fan had been down, because that...
Well, now we do know this. We do know that the men in 7 South, that section that got saved a man's run, there was an explosion, not in their area, that played havoc, okay? So even if you're not precisely right, your theory could still stand up.
Yeah.
You follow me, that they were trapped earlier with that first, you know, like 5:30 explosion.
Yeah.
But earlier the gas could have been accumulating from 4 to 5:30 just for the mistake they'd make on that covered up mine, see? And then that one mistake blew the damn place, you know?
Well, that's what I say. I don't believe all them men was killed that first
We
explosion.
thank you, and don't think we won't want to talk with you again, but your courtesy and your willingness to, you know, discuss it, we're very grateful to both of you as old-time minded people. We appreciate your family and what you've done for the country.